This is AI annotation work, the job where people check, correct, and rate what AI systems produce. Over the next 8 minutes, I'm going to walk you through a realistic day of it. The actual tasks, the tools on screen, and the quality checks that decide whether you keep getting offered work. One thing before we start, there are 4 kinds of tasks you'll run into, and one of them gets rejected far more often than the other 3. It's also the one most beginners choose first, because it looks like the easiest. I'll tell you which one it is in about 2 minutes. Quick note before we go further. I'm describing how this work is structured, not promising what you'll make. Pay, task availability, and approval all vary by platform, project, and region. Annotation and evaluation are related but not identical. Annotation is labeling. You draw a box around an object, tag a phrase, or mark a category so a model has something structured to learn from. Evaluation is judgment. 2 model responses sit side by side, and you decide which one is more accurate, safer, and more faithful to the instruction. Then you explain why. Most platforms mix both. And then there's the part nobody mentions in the sign-up page. There's a number on your dashboard that matters more than how many tasks you complete. When it slips, your queue quietly stops refilling, and most people don't connect the two until the work has already dried up. I'll show you exactly where that number lives and what moves it. Let's go through the 4. To be clear, these are samples of the kinds of tasks that exist on these platforms, not a list of what you personally will be assigned. Your queue depends on the projects running that week. First, image and video labeling. Drawing boxes, tracing outlines, tagging objects frame by frame. Second, transcript correction. Audio plays and you fix names, accents, punctuation, and technical terms the speech system misheard. Another kind is safety and policy review, where you flag unsupported claims, fabricated citations, or instructions the model ignored. And the 4th is response writing and ranking, comparing 2 answers, choosing the better one, and writing the justification. That 4th one is the answer to my earlier question. Response writing gets rejected most because it is the most subjective, and beginners pick it first because it needs no special software. Which brings me back to that dashboard number. It's your approval rate, the share of your submitted work that survives review. Now let's talk about how that approval rate is actually calculated. Your work goes to a reviewer or to an automated consistency check, or to both. They compare your decisions against a rubric and against what other reviewers concluded on the same item. Agreement raises your rate. Disagreement lowers it. What surprises people is that being right is not enough on its own. You have to be right in the way the rubric defines right, and you have to be consistent about it across hundreds of items. After that, there's a second layer, written justifications. On evaluation tasks, you don't just pick an answer. You explain the choice in a few sentences, and a reviewer reads that explanation. Now here's the thing I want you to sit with. 2 people can have almost identical approval rates, and one of them keeps getting invited onto specialized, better paid projects while the other stays on general queues for months. It isn't speed and it isn't volume. I'll come back to what it actually is. Between assignments, there's work that doesn't show up as tasks at all. You take qualification tests for new projects. You read auditor feedback on decisions you already submitted. You reread the rubric when a project updates it, because the definitions do change mid-project and nobody announces it loudly. That unpaid feeling maintenance is real, and I want to be honest that it's part of the job. It also happens to be where the tier difference comes from. The people who get invited onto specialized projects are the ones whose written justifications read like a reviewer could audit them, specific, tied to the rubric's language, and consistent from item to item. That's the answer to what I raised a moment ago. It isn't speed and it isn't volume. It's whether your reasoning is legible to the person checking it. And there's one more thing about the shape of the first month that I think matters more than any of this, which I'll get to at the end. Here's the shape of a realistic first month, which is what I promised you at the start. Week 1 is applications and qualification tests, and most of it is waiting. The next thing that happens catches people off guard. Week 2, if you're approved, is slow and frustrating. You're learning a rubric. Your approval rate is volatile because you have so few submissions, and every task takes longer than it should. Week 3 is the one where people quit. The work feels repetitive, the queue is thin, and the pay per task looks small relative to the time you're putting in while you're still slow. That week is a skill problem, not a verdict on the platform, and it passes for most people who push through it. By week 4, the rubric is internalized, decisions get faster, and the queue starts behaving predictably. That's the honest arc. It is not a guaranteed path. Task availability varies by project and by region, and some people decide it isn't for them, which is a legitimate answer. But the people who last are almost always the ones who expected week 3 instead of being ambushed by it. So that's a realistic day and a realistic first month, from the tasks themselves through to what quality review is actually looking for. If you want the full walkthrough of getting started end to end, the complete beginner's guide on this channel covers the whole path in one place. That's the one to watch next. And if you'd rather work through your own situation with me directly, personalized training is linked below. Subscribe if you want more of this kind of practical breakdown, and I'll see you in the next one.
There was nothing much left as a song.